Welcome to the Erotic Devotion Podcast. I'm your host, Grace Allardyce. Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is the Erotic Devotion Podcast, and in today's episode, I thought it would be fun to break down some of the most common symptoms or surface signs of what being boxed in inside of this good girl consciousness actually looks like. This is becoming sort of a specialty of mine. I know this pattern very well from the inside out, from my own lived experience, and hopefully breaking down some of these external, more tangible, practical ways that are revealing this internal box can be really helpful. The good girl consciousness, or the what's what I call it, is both a pattern. It's a way that your nervous system is used to working and running. It's a way that you're used to relating to other people. It's something that your energy, your aura is used to running. And it usually looks very righteous and caring on the outside, which is why it can often go years or entire lifetime without going noticed, which hopefully if you're listening to this, that won't be you, because it is a very suffocating box. It impoverishes the soul, and it is quite a killer for desire and authentic intimacy, which is why we're talking about it here. But not only is it a pattern in this sense, it's also a paradigm. It's also very directly connected to your story about how the world works, why you're here, what you think your role is inside of that paradigm. And that's why it's also important to work with these more with our spiritual stories, with our mythologies, with our symbols about what is it actually that's the quote goal or the journey or the map for how we're transforming as people, where we're trying to go, who we want to become. And this is not my only job in the work that I do now, but it's becoming one of my favorites. I love this good girl box is such a rigid ego. It's such a rigid story, which is why it has to be small, it has to be fixed, and the effects of it are very imprisoning and dampening. It crushes the soul. And again, like I said earlier, it is also self-righteous. And when we break free of this box, which sometimes can happen very efficiently and very suddenly if someone's really ready for it, and other people, it has to be peeled back layer by layer over time so that you can experience more of yourself. This includes more joy, more pleasure, more desire, more honesty, relationships where you feel seen and you're also enjoying seeing the other person, more pleasure in your body and just your day-to-day existence, and also a sense of power. And power is one that I find that most people who come into this work, especially if they're coming from these paradigms of goodness or this pattern of running goodness in their body is like the goal of who they're trying to be, the power dynamic is what they're really hungry for. And we talk a lot about this more in my Ma membership, where we're really getting at all of these things from both the somatic perspective and somatic practices, really building these capacities in your body, but we're also supporting them from the spiritual perspective. Like, what are these soul stories? What are the mythologies and the symbols and the energies that are supporting us and that we're working with? What's the paradigm that you're building for yourself to support who you really want to be and how you really want to feel? And we're also working at it from the erotic and the sexual standpoint, the relational dynamics that come up with that. So let's get into it. The below, or I guess before I say that, so if you're potentially interested in joining Ma, which is a membership I have, the doors are not open all the time, but they do open once a quarter. And Ma is just for pussy. So Not all of my work is. Everyone is welcome to most of the things in my work. However, Ma is just for pussy. So you can join the waitlist for that below. Or if you'd like more of a quick hit that I also find very effective and very efficient, you can explore my offer Virgin, which is a lower ticket offer that is available at any time. And that I found, though it is just 2 master classes, there's 1 hour each, one that's more of like a transmission and a teaching, and one that's more of a guided, embodied practice, which is very much my style. And I found that even though it is just that, it also has very efficient, impactful energy. People get a real big dose of their own radical permission and power, and it's really fun to get those testimonials back. So be sure to check out Virgin below if any of these symptoms or signs resonate with you as well. And lastly, before we jump into the signs, I find that most of us want to feel like we are regal, royal, empowered in our lives and in our relationships. Especially when I'm working with women, there's this way that we want to be treated like a queen. I want to feel like a queen. However, that's not going to be possible for you to feel queen, for you to be seen, if this good girl paradigm is running in your nervous system and your paradigm about how you relate to people, how you relate to the world, what you think your job is, what you think virtue is, etc. You will not feel like a queen and you will not feel seen, because the good girl will always need daddy. The good girl will always need someone to say, you did such a good job. You did so good. And that will always keep her playing that game. There's a way to play that game that's fun from a conscious place, and that's not what I'm talking about. And I found that very few people are actually able to do that. Very few people are actually there. So we are here in service to your freedom and liberation so that you can play whatever game you want, when you want, and that means this box cannot run your show. Okay, so the first sign or symptom is that you never feel ready to do what it is that you want. You never feel worthy enough, and you never feel good enough. This plaguing sense that I hear it all of the time. If I had a penny for every time I've heard someone on a Zoom call or in real life saying, I just don't feel good enough. I don't know if I'm ready. There is always going to be another certification you can take. There is always going to be a way to improve and refine and get better. But what's really underneath that sense that you're not good enough for this relationship, for going after a desire, is usually what it's related to, because desire brings up this sense of worthiness, that you think you have to be good enough, worthy enough in order to have it or in order to want it, when in reality, you can just want what you want. The end. It doesn't have to be good. You don't have to be good enough. It can just be what you want. You don't have to be worthy to want it. You don't have to be worthy to go after it. And so this sense of like, oh, I'm not good enough, or you're worried that someone else won't think you're good enough, or that you don't deserve it, that is going to be a very big red flag that this Good Girl program is running for you quite loudly. There's a reason that this one is number 1, is because it comes up a lot, because this mechanism of deservingness and earning and achievement and accomplishment is very much part of this program. Number 2, you need everyone around you to abide by what you think is right in order to feel okay, or to feel, quote, safe. You only want to hang out with people who believe everything that you believe. You don't want to be around, quote, low vibes, because you're trying to keep your vibes high, right? This is an example of that kind of rigidity, right? Because I use this example a lot. Like, I can't think of a single person in my life where I believe everything that they believe about how the world works, about what's okay. Like, there's so much nuance and creativity and wildness and weirdness and like how I see what's going on. And also it changes. That if that were a criteria for being in relationship with me, I would not have friends. I would not be married. Like, that's not a real thing. And I use the example a lot of, it's something that becomes really beautiful when we work on big projects together. Let's say like you join like a theater company, or you do a community theater project, for instance, or you watch a show about that. What's always really beautiful and heartwarming about those kinds of stories is that it becomes about the show. It becomes about the thing that we're making together. It doesn't become about making sure everybody believes all the same things about everything and uses all the same words for everything all the time. That isn't actually what safety is. That's not what power is. That's a sign and symptom of rigidity, and that you have a very stern, rigid, strict sense of rightness, and you want everyone to measure up to it. So it's a very harsh criteria and judgment system that you have, of course, for yourself, which is why you never feel good enough, and also for other people, which that is going to keep you from seeing others as they are, appreciating their gifts, and it will also keep others from seeing you, because that isn't your real self. Relationship isn't actually, like, being able to be in the world isn't necessarily about beliefs. We don't all have to agree. We don't all have to believe all the same things. I don't know that that's an achievable goal. I don't even know if that's an interesting goal, because we always are going to need tension and tone and shape and shadow and contrast in order to have this full 5-dimensional experience. So that was number 2. You, quote, need everyone around you to be high vibe or right or whatever you think. And the last thing I'll say about this symptom or this sign before we move off from it is that frequently what happens is that people are raised in a really rigid environment like this. You had a really rigid parent. You grew up in a really strict fundamental religion that was a lot about rules and behavior control. And then you go through, something happens and that system breaks. It doesn't work anymore. And then people jump ship and they go into exactly the opposite. So a really common one in my world is like, you grew up Catholic. You're like, I grew up religious, usually Roman Catholic, earth sign. So you love the stability, you love the structure. But then, of course, when that box of religious constriction, rigidity, and impoverishment ends up not working out or being able to hold your adult life in the way that you want, we jump ship, we go absolutely the opposite direction, but our relationship to that rigidity doesn't change. So if you, say, grew up really conservative Christian, for example, and then jump ship into like a yoga cult or into a wellness cult or into, like feminism is my new religion, whatever the thing is, like, doesn't matter so much what the ideology is. The ideology is like a costume, but the rigidity inside is the same. And the rigidity is really the seed that we would be working with to try to free up. Number 3, you think it is your job to save others and or the world. I'm saying this lightheartedly, but this can actually weigh so heavy on people. I have an episode called Finding Your True Gift where I talk about this a little bit more. And so I'm not going to get into this in crazy detail here. But if you notice that you're always oriented to some, like, I just try looking for the right movement to be a part of to save the world. I'm on a mission to save this or save the world. You're not here to save the world. You're not here to save others. We're here to be in relationship with others. We're here to be in relationship with the world. And I would go one step farther. In my world and in my work, we're here to love the world and love others. And what does that look like? That's a bigger ask, and it's a more heart-opening ask. And your soul is going to, and your body is going to have to learn to open wide, ecstatically, erotically, pleasurably, powerfully, in order for that to be a stance that you can hold and enjoy. But it is the one I think you are made to hold and enjoy. And so when we do it, it feels really good. Whereas when we're trying to save others and or the world, you will constantly feel like you're failing because it's not possible. And you're carrying a burden that literally can never fit in the backpack of you and of your life and the scope of your work. It's not possible. And it causes people to abandon themselves. I've literally seen it kill people. Like, they literally run themselves, run their lives into the ground. Their worthiness, their sense of goodness gets so low Their sense of failure is so big. I'm not making a difference. And the people will literally lose their lives over this. And it's heartbreaking because when we orient to something that's bigger and wider and more liberating, the burden is light and it feels good. So check out that episode, Finding Your True Gift, if you'd like to get more into that. It's a really big one for people who are, quote, mission-driven businesses, who are very visionary, people who run nonprofits, etc. And the fourth symptom, it goes without saying, but I wanted to make it explicit here. Not only do you think it's your job to save the world and or others, you are very bothered when other people are not. So because it feels so terrible to think it's your job to save the world and others, when other people are not living under the crushing weight and responsibility of that burden, of course you get very upset because it can do nothing but make you miserable. Moving on. Next, you think that the purpose of spirituality is to help you be a good person. If you've listened to anything on this podcast, you'll know I disagree. That the goal, if we were even going to use that word, the outcome of our spiritual practice is always going to be on a gradient towards wholeness, which is not the same thing as goodness. And I think that's really important to differentiate here. It's your wholeness. It's your fully fleshed out, multidimensional, paradoxical, contradictory, exciting, erotic, ecstatic, good, bad, neither nor self. And that's always going to be someone who is very interesting and alive and creative and inspired. It might feel like goodness. It might feel like love to someone else, but it is wholeness, not goodness, is what I think the purpose of our spiritual practice is, our spiritual journey is. It's alchemical in nature, not transcendent in nature. And a great episode, if you'd like to learn more about that, would be the one on From Judgment to Mystery or Beyond Good and Bad. Next, you secretly, or not so secretly, I think this is, we always think we're being secret about it, but I find that it's not actually. Always craving validation, reminders, and approval. You're always looking for someone to be like, oh, if someone could just tell me that it's okay. Or if someone could just like affirm and confirm back to me that like I'm a good person and I'm doing a good job. I did it right. I said it right. I like messed with the rules a little bit here and did it kind of a different way. And you're like looking around all the time wondering like, do you just really need that validation? You really need it. It's kind of come up. You're always going to ask for it. Even if you don't explicitly ask for it, it's in your system. And again, this is going to make it very hard to be in relationships where there's a lot of vulnerability and honesty and authenticity, because if we always need others to see us in a certain way or affirm back to us that we're living a certain image, then intimacy is not possible. Next, you are really bothered when other people get what they want or get what you want, and they didn't follow the rules to get it. So this is pointing back to that rigidity again, to these paradigms of deserving and earning, that there's a right way to do things, and you have to do things the right way. And if you do them the right way, then you'll deserve all the good things that you want and that comes to you. Long story short, that is not how it works, and that's never going to work out for you. So I can save you a lot of time, and you can join literally anything that I do, and we'll work with that with you, and it'll be really fun. So the reason it bothers you so much is similar to why aren't other people as miserable as I am following all these rules and doing everything the right way? Again, it's always going to pivot us back to rigidity, back to judgment, who's on the right side, who's on the wrong side, and oh, why did she get that? And I should have that. It's going to always increase separation. I should have that. I did it right. But doing it, quote, right, doing it according to the rules isn't actually how desire works. It's not how the erotic works. It's not really how reality works, honestly. So looking for the rules and the right way to be getting you, a life that feels good, things that you want, is a fruitless aspiration. Next on the list of signs that you're stuck in good girl consciousness is that you are terrified of people misunderstanding you. This is another big one. And if this is a big thing for you, again, I highly recommend that you check out Virgin. It's a really good resource that's really targeted at this specific misunderstanding symptom in a big way. So again, if someone misunderstands you, they may not think that you were good. They may not understand your good intentions or what you meant. They may have twisted something that you say and made you look like X, but you're actually Y. And that's going to be a problem with the good girl programming, is because that image is so rigid. It must be seen in a certain way. It must be agreed with. And again, it looks like goodness and sweetness and care on the outside, but what it really is a need for this particular story to be true, for people to see you a certain way, approve of you in a certain way, validate you a certain way, call you certain things so that you can then have what you want, which again, isn't how it works. But again, this is such a deep, strong programming in our system because of how we relate to religion, how we relate to the divine, how we relate to structure and community. It's in our academia. It's in pretty much every institution you could possibly be a part of. And this kind of takes me back a little bit to the one about saving the world, is that you'll notice that a part of like every cult, how do they get so many people to give away all of their power and like brain cells to do things that are literally harmful to them and people that they love? It's because it's living inside of a story that says, this is saving the world. And that's how you know that there's a fantasy running and this good girl paradigm is running. And again, it is extremely disempowering, and they need you to be disempowered, or you are just used to being disempowered. And if you are just used to being disempowered, you will always find people to overpower you, consciously or unconsciously. You will always find that people who do or want to overpower you just keep showing up. Good girl will always need daddy. And that's different than being like, I want to play with daddy today. Those are not the same thing. So this fear of being misunderstood, they're not going to understand that I really am here. My intentions were good. And actually I am in and I am here. That's going to be, again, another sign that this program is running. Next, situations and other people are consistently not good enough for you. So as I've talked about extensively on the show and just teaching in general, the way that this works is whatever structures and beliefs and stories you have running on the inside of you are also projected outside of you. So again, it looks like you are suffering and slaving, trying to be good enough and poor you. And on the outside, what's happening is you are judging literally everyone and everything for not being good enough. Do you see how those are mirrors of one another? One is projected inward, one is projected outward. And it may be hard to see this one. We're like, no, I'm not judgy. I'm not always thinking people are not good enough for me, but there might be. There's always going to be a way it's not quite up to par. Oh, if something has to get done, then I have to do it. I have to do it myself. Nobody else can do it as good as me. And on the inside, you also have this existential story like, I'm just not good enough to have what I want, or I'm not good enough to go after this, or I'm not good enough to deserve whatever the thing is. So those two work together. However, based on who we are and how we know ourselves, how aware we are, we'll notice either the outside or the inside more. If you were to record yourself for a day, how frequently are you talking about how X wasn't good enough? X isn't good enough. Most of the internet, most of social media is people literally complaining about how something isn't good enough. So you're in good company here, and it can be hard to see if it's the water that you're swimming in. But again, it is intrinsically related to you not thinking you're good enough. So if you want to get rid of the feeling that you're not good enough, you will also have to lose the judgment that so is everyone else in the world, etc. They go together. And that's where we have to really meet the energy and the experience and the empowerment of this radical acceptance and permission, not from some spiritual bypass mumbo jumbo, but from a really experienced and felt sense of who we are and what's going on in a way that feels really good. And therefore you feel good enough because you feel good. And that gives you power. to be who you are, to show up how you want to show up, to love how you want to love, to do the work that's meant for you, to do the work that you want to do, and help the people that you want to help, but it's free from all this other bullshit. And so it feels really good and paradoxically will have a lot more impact. Next, this one probably feels obvious, but you're always looking around and obeying something. You're always like, what are the rules? Am I allowed to do this? Again, is that looking for permission? You want to make sure that you're on the right track. You want to make sure you're doing it right, that you're on the right side. I don't know what to say about this. What do I say? And so you look around to figure out what everyone else is saying first and who you want to resemble the most, and then you just copy them. Next, if you don't do a good job, or if you don't show up the way that people need and expect, or at least how you think people need you and what you think they expect of you, then you're afraid that they'll leave, that you'll be abandoned, rejected, and alone. And this is really at the heart of the brokenheartedness of this paradigm, is that you might actually, if you've gotten into relationships where this paradigm is running your system, you might be in a relationship where it will break up if you stop performing and trying to be good all the time. However, you might not be, and you don't want to be if you are. Having a relationship based on you doing a good job and always doing what you think people need and want and expect, that's codependence. Again, I know all of these from the inside. This is not from some podium where I'm better than everyone. I just have a lot of insight and clarity around it because I really have created a lot of freedom from myself from this paradigm, and I really enjoy doing it with and for other people as well. So none of this is coming from a place of judgment, but I want to be very precise here in outlining this so that you can start to see these patterns in yourself and hopefully get free with them. So it's not a real relationship. It's not real honesty. It's not real vulnerability. And if you've only known relationship and quote intimacy by performing and doing a good job, by anticipating what you think people need and expect, by never failing, by never letting people down, it will feel very scary and vulnerable to start to let people down in your mind. You might not actually be letting them down. They might be like, oh God, thank God she's stopped being so perfect around us. And they feel like they can really see you now too. That happens most of the time because they're exhausted with your goodness as well. People want you. And if you're in this thing where you're performing goodness and being what you think people want, what you think people need, doing the right thing, what you think the right thing is, you can't get to you, and neither can other people. They don't want more of what you think they need. They want more of you. And so you need to lose this program, lose this box so that you can get more of you. Because you will get it as well, and it will nourish you and feed you, and other people will be nourished and fed by you as well, and it won't feel like as much work. And even if it does feel like work, it will feel much more rewarding and fulfilling. Next, you're always trying to get other people on board with what you think should be happening instead. Because again, if we have this program of rigidity and hyperstructure running, it's going to manifest in control. Because if you're the only one who can do a good enough job and you know what's best and everybody needs to agree with you to be around you, hello, that is controlling. And even if it looks like codependence and I'm taking care of everybody else and I'm doing what they think they need, it's what you think they should need. It's what you think they should expect. It's what you think should be happening. And when you're running on that, but other people aren't, you're never going to be getting what you think you deserve from that. Why aren't they buying into my program? Well, if I did X, Y, and Z, then I should have this. And you're always trying to get everybody on board with, this is how the party should go. This is the best way to do it. If you're going to come in this way, it all has to, there's no breathing room. There's no bandwidth, and it's all of that rigidity is always going to look for control. And I know that I was just joking this morning where it's always the people that show up and they're like, I'm not high maintenance. And it's like, that's always going to be the green flag where it's like, yeah, you are. And that's okay. We love you if you're high maintenance. And you could be having a better time. So if you notice that you're, again, if you were to just watch your life from the outside, record it, if you're always trying to corral and get everybody going with the program that you think should be happening, you might want to look at that and why you think it always should be going a certain way. Someone should be saying something a certain way, behaving in a certain way, and you're always trying to get people onto that program and that path. Next, You are consistently and absolutely wrecked by the knowledge of the bad, bad, bloody, dirty world. This is a big one for pretty much everybody. It is hard to be in the world. There is pain in the world. There is suffering in the world. There is injustice in the world. And it is, again, we've already talked about extremely disempowering and non-achievable and deflating to be like, I'm here to save it. You are not Superman. You are not here to save it. That's how comic book movies work out, which is why I find them incredibly boring. But that's not actually how life works. In order to be in the world, this bad, bad, bloody, dirty world, where there's consistently pain and suffering and, out in the wild, even when everything is in quote harmony, other animals be getting eaten by other animals. There's something about this dynamic here that's how it works. I'm not saying it can't run better. I'm not saying we shouldn't integrate more. I definitely hope that we do. But whether or not we do, you can have your own experience of being more resilient, of feeling more powerful, of feeling more connected to the beauty of being alive, the pleasure of being alive, because that's there too. And I guarantee you, it will never feel good if you're consistently wrecked by the world that we're in. And that's about right-sizing your relationship to your responsibility, but it's also, again, releasing the rigidity of needing things to be a certain way for you to be okay, for you to get a taste of how beautiful life is as well. And we really want to connect you to that beauty and that wholeness and that pleasure that it takes to be here. If you are not sipping on the beauty and sipping on the pleasure, it will never feel good to be here, and then why be here at all? And I don't say that lightly. Again, I've seen people walk down this in a way that is very painful and heartbreaking, and I don't want that to be you. Next, you think it's other people's job to do what you want rather than your job to do what you want. So again, we're back to this rigid model of deservingness. I am giving up and delaying everything that I want to do what I think other people expect of me, to do what I think people need me to do, to perform my rightness and goodness. Therefore, everyone should run to give me what I want. And that's not true. Again, good girl always needs daddy, always needs Santa Claus to come and give her presents, rather than to be like, oh, I just buy my own presents, or I create my presents. I create the life where this is what I have, or this is who I am, or this is what I do. One is much harder than the other, and the good girl version is hard, but it's not rewarding or fulfilling. It is, again, it's codependent with reality. It's stuck in this paradigm of earning things that you actually can't earn. It isn't other people's job to give you all the things that you want. And life isn't about getting everything that we want, but it is about living with desire and being with that impulse and that fire and that openness that desire creates within us. And it is our job, not someone else's, to learn how to be with that and embody it and work with it and go after where it's pushing us. Where is that erotic energy pushing you? And it does that usually through desire, by baiting a carrot out in front of you, and you start salivating. You're like, oh, I really want it. And that's the journey. It's not other people's job to go get the carrot and bring it back to you. It's your job to get free enough to follow it and resilient enough to enjoy the ride of going after it. Next, you easily identify with being a martyr or a victim. And again, as always talked about at the very beginning of this isn't just like mental, intellectual stories, though that can be happening as well, but there's something in your system that always goes towards collapse. And this isn't to say, of course, there are people who are actually victims, and those are not people that I would say are running this good girl consciousness, right? It's that you find yourself in the story always noticing how it's other people's fault that X happened. It's always someone else's fault that you feel this way. Again, we're always putting our power somewhere else. We're always waiting for someone else to make it better, to bring us the thing that will make us feel better, rather than our job to make us feel better. Our job to be who we are in a situation, regardless of what's going on. So if you find yourself frequently collapsing into this narrative of how you are the martyr, you are the victim, and someone else is always doing you wrong, and this, how that deservingness works, because you can never deserve enough, then maybe the martyr card, the victim card, is going to be how you get mercy and approval. Because if you mess up, if you're the victim or the martyr, then someone can feel sorry for you, and that's almost the same thing as saying good job. Next, you have a story. This is usually a very spiritualized story, a very idealized story around the inevitable suffering around your gifts and being who you are. So this is connected to the previous one, this martyrdom thing. And we see this again a lot with spiritual people or people doing spiritual work. You're already so sure that you're like bloody Jesus on the cross for being who you are and offering your gifts to the world. Because again, the system that is used to pity or is used to praise for being good is the same system. And so if you find that you're always telling a story about like, poor me, nobody wants to, nobody sees like the value in my work because I'm so forward thinking, and I guess I'll just like die in poverty and like chop my ear off like Van Gogh and like a real artist. Like the suffering artists love this one as well. And that it's just part of your duty. It's like deeply integrated into your duty and your gifts that it must be hard and it must be sacrifice and it must be suffering. That's somehow like required, and therefore it becomes engineered into who you are and what you're doing. That's definitely giving good girl vibes, right? It's giving starving artist. It's giving like celibate, bloody Catholic starving Jesus on the cross, like all of that. If you find that like some of that story is running, we're stuck in some good girl vibes. Next, not so deep down, again, by this point, or it's going to feel very obvious that you're questioning whether or not you actually can create desire, experience what you desire, deserve what you desire, go after it, cross the threshold to get a little bit closer to it. What will people think? People will misunderstand me. I might look bad. I'm not sure I could convince everyone that it came from the right intention and actually I meant X, Y, and Z, and what if I say the wrong thing? Not so deep down, there's a big question about whether or not you actually can. Because again, the good girl paradigm doesn't have power in it. It will keep you powerless forever. And so tasting power feels very bad. But I hope you do it anyways, because that question, that loop that it keeps you in and keeps you stuck in is actually going to prohibit desire from coming close and prevent the things that you want in order to have a fulfilling and beautiful life. Next, you have a backpack full of evidence for all of the reasons that you won't get what you desire, that it won't work out, that even if you tried, even if you did have the power, which you're not sure that you do, even if you did, even if someone was like, I think it's 99% certain, you can look back, you have a backpack full of all the times it hasn't worked before, all the times you gave it your best and you failed or were disappointed or somebody threw a wrench, or like it's like Drop Dead Gorgeous is the movie that's coming to mind right now, or like, somebody killed the contestants and you couldn't win the beauty contest, whatever the thing is. You have a backpack of evidence, and that is a backpack that you're not willing to lose, because that's all the evidence that's justifying how and who you're being right now. And we can become very attached to that. We can become very attached to our identity, which again is that rigid ego, that rigid story that this good girl depends on. So if you are constantly gesturing to the buffet of quote evidence for all the reasons you shouldn't try, all the reasons you shouldn't go for it, then again, that's a symptom that good girl consciousness is happening. Next, you really, really need and want people to know how hard it's been for you. This is not the same thing as authentically and honestly sharing when you're in difficult moments. That's just vulnerability, and I hope that you have that. However, if you find yourself constantly rehearsing, announcing, letting people know how hard it's been to get where you are as, again, sort of the way to signal psychically to people that you deserve or you've earned or you've been good enough to have what you want right now, that is going to be a prison, and you will still not be able to enjoy what it is that you have because you still need people to know how hard it's been for you. I think we should celebrate our stories of transformation. We should enjoy how far we've come on our journeys. That's beautiful, but I hope that it's clear how those are not the same thing. Next, you are very proud of all of the things that you can do without needing anybody else. Look, I did it by myself. Nobody helped me. I did the Christmas tree by myself. I got everything ready. Nobody helped me clean up. I just did it all, right? I don't need anyone to hold the door, whatever the thing is, right? You're very proud of all the things that you can accomplish, experience, and provide for yourself, all the things that nobody has helped you with. Because again, this box, if independence is a lie. We are interdependent by nature. It is literally not possible to survive alone, much less thrive. There is nothing that you have done on your own. There is nothing you have accomplished by yourself. There is nothing you have provided for by yourself. And I can break that down in more detail. Literally everything around you, someone building your house, you having a car, someone built that car, there's a road, you drove somewhere, somebody watched your kid. Nothing about your life has happened on your own. And I know that it can feel that way if we have a lot of wounds around abandonment and betrayal, or just this deep sense of loneliness and feeling very unseen and misunderstood. I am so familiar with that story. I'm so familiar with those wounds and that kind of pain. Again, I know these things very well from the inside. And often what's happening is when we're really trying to muscle up under this giant flex, like, see, I don't need anyone to help. See, I can do it on my own. Look what I did on my own. Where that's kind of happening, it's usually a shield and a defense for all the ways that we have felt unsupported or unseen or lonely or betrayed or abandoned. And all of those wounds are very real. And they can also be healed and loved towards wholeness, but they can't be if that shield of hiding behind accomplishments and the lie of independence is running the show. And finally, again, I could do like a 6-hour episode on this, but I will make this the last one. The final symptom that good girl story is happening and running your show is that you want to get yours. Again, you have things that you want. You have things that you'd like to experience and do and accomplish and be seen for and known for, but you don't want too much. That phrase, too much, comes up a lot, or that phrase, enough. Is it enough? Am I enough? Am I good enough? We already talked about that. But too much is sort of the other mirror for that. That you want to get yours, but not too much, right? I need to make more money, but not too much more money, because then, it's going to break my whole small, tiny box of angelic goodness that I need people to see me as and to be. So if you see or are aware that the phrase too much is coming up, I'm afraid I'm going to be too much. I'm going to be too like this. I'm going to be too like that. People will think that I'm too X. That's going to be another way that is signaling to you that something about this program is running. So you will find at the bottom of this episode, you will find a couple of links to other podcast episodes that go really well with this, including R.I.P. Good Girl and Finding Your True Gift, and also From Judgment to Mystery. And there might be one more, and I can't remember what it was, but we'll link it below in the notes. There's also some free resources. My Eros Initiator class is a free masterclass that you can get access to in the link below. And again, I encourage you, if you want to do one step up from that, either check out Virgin, which is only $77, to really start to shake up and bust through some of these things that are keeping you very small and imprisoned and impoverished inside. And or you can join the waitlist for Ma. Those would be best next steps for this. So I absolutely want to remind you that if this is you, if you see how some of these things are running your show now, or after listening to this, you become more aware or more acutely attuned to where these signals are showing up in your life, I want you to know that, like, I used to be the poster child for this. I had all of these signs and symptoms literally all the time. I was like a shell of a person, because that's what this does. It turns you into obedient shell of a human, regardless of which paradigm you're living in on the outside. It is possible to have a more empowered, pleasurable, beautiful life that is way bigger than the box of goodness. And I hope that this encourages you to have a very generous awareness of yourself and to feel like there's so much more permission than you're giving yourself. There's so much bigger playing field. There's so much more of you that wants to come online. And I guarantee you that there's people in your life who are also really want this bigger and wilder version of you to come online as well, because everyone benefits from it. It can only create more alignment for you and for everyone around you. So with that, thank you all for listening. Be sure to check the links below in the show notes if you'd like to go deeper or listen to other episodes that support it. I am sending you so much love, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a moment to subscribe to the show, leave us a review, or share the episode with someone who would enjoy it. Check out the show notes below for more about our guests, plus links to gifts and other resources to take you deeper. Our podcast music was produced by Santiago Paramo, our podcast art graphically designed by Sara Mendoza, and photography by Charlie Watts. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. Be well. Peace.